All right, we are live. Let me get this tweeted out here so everybody can join along. Let's see if Twitter is going to behave here. Oh, there it is. There's a little retweet button. Got it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, good. Make sure my mic is on. Okay, good. Sound check. It looks okay. So, good. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today, and wow, down 35 points today. A big chunk of that was from the gap down, right? I think the first 20 points was from the gap down, and then we had another 15, 20 points or so at some point today. So pretty neat stuff. Let's take a look at the charts overall. So monthly chart, right? Monthly is kind of a thick red spinning top right here off of that green spinning top from the which actually pushed above the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly, right? So that was last month, right? We closed the month with the Fed on July 31st, and we're just kind of getting that kind of that follow through to the downside here. Look, there was a little bit of hope the other day, and but the macro trend has still been pretty much down, which we'll see in the daily chart here. So weekly chart, inside week so far, I really liked the green hammer over the mid Bollinger Band that we had going into this week, but with the gap down, it made it tough to get some follow through on that. But the week isn't over yet. The daily chart is really kind of all over the place, right? We had a really, really sharp move down after the Fed, right? And then we had an inside day, right? Then we were followed by an outside day, which got a nice move up here. Now this move up, right? This move up had a was impressive, right? Because it filled this gap right here and it filled this gap right here. So very, very important stuff, right? Because what the SPX was doing was putting an island top right here, which is a bearish, bearish setup, right? And so by pushing through that with some authority, right, it kind of invalidated that setup right there. But then, we had inside day on Friday, right? Kind of makes sense after a big move. And then today, and this was significant, we'll take a look at this in a second, it was inside day down, right? So when you look at this, right, an inside day down is not exactly it's like, oh, wow, that's really easy. You just enter at the low here, and then it goes down, right? Well, no, because there's price action that goes in there, right? So everything starts at the lower time frames. And so when you dig into the price action, right, we start to see, some of the activity that was going on here, right? And you can kind of just even see here, these are some of the levels that we look at. These are the levels that we tweet out and provide to subscribers, before every market day, and we can kind of see, right? So we gap down, right? We had a big push here through a bunch of different confluence levels right here, right? And then we held the weekly pivot level and then came back up, right? So there's a nice move up here, right? Nice 3 bars, like 3 white soldiers, everything's looking great. 2 topping tails. Back down through those levels. So you can see these moves down were very, very sharp. And what happened is we came back to that level one more time. And keep in mind, this is a big psychological level. This is 2,900. And we had this topping tail right here, right, which is kind of like the signal to be like, hey, this thing's ready, right? So lots of action right here at the weekly pivot. Essentially a chop, but a lot of bars that were trying to decide which way to go. As you can see, the different colors. And then we pushed down right into the close, and couldn't get to the monthly S3 level right down here. So got a little above it, so it made it really kind of difficult to trade into the close, but pretty interesting stuff. So there's some option charts there. So this is what we looked at recently, right? So these are the key levels that we were trying to get through. Right, we're trying to get through this resistance zone, right, on the big daily zone, and it's kind of neat, right? We were recently looking at the Ray Bull Power last week. We were looking at market strength, and look what it's done. It started to look like it was going to cross over, right, the zero line as these bars got smaller, right, and it couldn't do it, right? We couldn't get through this resistance zone up here. We couldn't get over the 50-day moving average, and so we kind of just pushed off of those, and then here we are, right? So showing some relative weakness on in the market right now. So like I said, there's a possibility if we can't hold this resistance zone that we test the pitchfork median line again. And then we have to see if that decides to hold this time or if it gives up and then it wants to go maybe test the 200-day moving average, right? So here you can see here a big macro picture. This is the SPX, right, all through 2018 and 2019, right? It's been following this golden channel, right, down, up, down, oh, flush right here, Christmas reversal back up, all the way back up to the top of the channel, and then here we are at the pitchfork median line, it's a macro pitchfork level. So really, really kind of interesting stuff. It is fitting into anybody who subscribes to the newsletter. It is fitting into the Elliott Wave count, this zigzag down potential. And sorry guys, this thing's jumping all over the place. My I need to replace my mouse. The buttons are just like getting jumpy on it. So yeah, TTD down. It was down, I think, like 17, 18 points at one point, maybe more. But anyway, so that's where we're at on the SPX. So hopefully you find that helpful there. So today we're just going to kind of continue a little bit of the discussion that we had yesterday. We were talking about Paul. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. So yeah, that zigzag down is going to be pretty wild. Anyway, so we're just continue. Yesterday we talked about these projection bands, and so let me pull those up again here so we can see those here on the SPX. So just a really cool tool. I kind of did look back. I think these are done by Wilder. So let's see. I mean, now today we're going to add the projection oscillator on it. So really neat stuff, right? Whenever we see like kind of a curve down in it, right, we look for a potential test of the low end of the projection bands. Remember, it never crosses above or below it. It's always based on previous highs and always projects a little bit more forward. But it can tag it essentially and then give some price action triggers to move, right? So here it had this big curve down right here, had an inside bar, right? Try to go up, try to go down, and then worked its way back up here, at the end of the day today. And so let's take a look, and we're going to add one more study to the screen, and today we're going to talk about the projection oscillator. I think it's pretty neat because when you combine the two, it actually gives a little bit more. So yesterday was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. There's this neat band that kind of goes up and down. So what I'm going to do is stare at it all day and look for little curves on it to see maybe if I can find some price action. But this is pretty neat. This kind of adds a little bit more continuity to this system. And so let's take a look here. We go to support resistance areas, and we'll add the projection oscillator. So this helps a lot more. Okay, so just like any oscillator, right? This has basically goes from 0 to 100, and it has overbought and oversold levels. And so what we want to do is we want to find confluence, where we're tagging essentially either the top or the bottom of the projection band that has confluence with overbought and oversold levels on the oscillator. Okay, so if we just kind of go back, we can look at a couple examples here. Let's let's find some confluence levels of interest. So here, right? So we had this push down right here, right? So we had that curve down that we were talking about yesterday, and we tagged, right, the bottom of the level, right? And then look what we have right here. We have oversold levels on the oscillator, right? And so from here, we could see, well, it kind of did the same thing. It tagged the top of it and had overbought levels. But eventually, this thing worked its way up off of that curvature to the downside, right? So it gave a nice reversal up. Here we can see, right, we tagged the top. We had a curvature up on the top part of the projection band, right? And then we had overbought levels on the oscillator, right? And so granted, it started to move down here, right? So I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world, right? You have to have kind of a little bit looser stops, right? And then it finally wore out right here and then worked its way down. So just like when we looked at, several months ago, when we looked at the momentum oscillator, it also has like some pretty, neat stuff that you can kind of combine with it, right? So you can use, never be afraid to draw a trend line on your indicators, right? So there's kind of extra tools that we have. So what does this look like right here, right? Looks like right, head and shoulders, right? So I don't have to finish drawing it. You can kind of see it right here. So what we do is we draw the neckline right here on the head and shoulders, right? I mean, you could do it down here, whatever the case is. But, right, so that's the idea. And once we got through the neckline, which was right here, right, we had a signal bar right here kind of going into, basically today, we had that nice first bar. We had 2 bars to potentially get an entry in, and you could see once we broke down below that triggered the head and shoulders on the projection oscillator. And so that would have potentially been one way to capture this type of move, the huge gap down that we had today, right? So kind of came down, right, tested the these kind of 2900 levels, right, and then worked its way back down. So pretty interesting stuff, right? So you could definitely see that combining these two gives a little more continuity. So basically to potential trading system. So you have the tags, right, the curvature, right? So here we had a nice curve up, right? This is actually a really good one, right? Nice curl up right here. We tagged the top of the projection band. You can see we got overbought here on the projection oscillator, and you didn't even need any like really super price action. We just had sort of a thrust bar to the downside, and then that kind of moved 29.14, right? Ultimately went down to 29.01. So occasionally you'll get some pretty nice setups like that. Otherwise, we go down. You can look at the projection oscillator and look for setups, right? Within that too. So. A couple other ideas as well, is you could use basically our trend line tactics too with this, like we did with the McClellan oscillator, right? You can look for points. I mean, this is a really tight line right here, but you can see, right here was the breakdown point right here, right, which started the move down. I mean, even if you just caught it right there, right, that would be like 28.99, so for 6 points, which is okay on SPX, right? Then of course it moved back up and gave a couple more indications for some downside movement, right? So we can even see here, we had another double crossover here. That was the level, right? So nice move right here, right? From this, little pause bar, and then worked its way down like we saw. So remember, this was the when we looked at the price action earlier, we had all these different colors, right? The yellows and the blues, right? That was eventually the signal, the trigger to move down. So just using kind of this trend line off the projection oscillator, you can kind of see that. Now we never tagged the top of it here, but just using the oscillator itself, it gives some interesting clues. So, so pretty cool stuff. So, definitely something neat to experiment with. Always go back and kind of, look for confirmation later, kind of using this system. I thought it was a pretty neat tool. So, just wanted to share that with you guys this week. So, hope you guys found that helpful. If, at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up by 10:30 so we can get a good night's sleep tonight. Hopefully, tomorrow will be a little more exciting day. I mean, basically today, just kind of going back like real quick, if we look at the 15-minute chart, we had Roku this morning, right? That was a nice gap and go that we pointed out in the live stream this morning. So that was good. So nice push right there. So anybody who caught that, great job. Nice push to these levels. And then Beyond gave a really nice move today. Kind of give an inside 15 down here, right? Nice reversal bar, and then look at that really, really strong move back up. And then Pins was another one that moved today that was pretty decent. Had to be stalking this one, right? Yeah, they had to have an open order basically at 35, right? Which was kind of like one of the key levels that we were trying to get over recently. So if you had an order there, that you would have, caught, a decent move on that. Or, right, we had, look at this nice compressed inside 15 right here that went up. Or if you look on the 30-minute chart, which is usually what we look at after, earnings, very, very compressed inside 30 right here, which ultimately gave a huge move up today. So big stuff there on those. Anyway, this is kind of the action today. Julian, what's happening? Good to see you. Hope you had a great day today. So there's some interesting stuff. These are the days that if you don't take a lot of trades, it's also good to go back and kind of look at the ones that did move and kind of see if there was anything there that maybe we could have caught and all that stuff. So some nice stuff. Experience and thoughts. Hey, yeah, whoa, there you go. And then AMD was the other one too that I wanted to mention. But good stuff. Yeah. So let's take a look, a bigger picture at those. I just looked at Roku and Pins, but let's take a look at the dailies on those. So we have Roku right here. Roku has now replaced Google on my FANG list, and so now it's called the NARF list. So it just reminds me of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. So anyway, so yeah, Roku's just on fire, guys. It doesn't care if the market's down 40 points, right? It's still being Roku. So really, really good stuff. Who knows? I think this thing, could get to 200 eventually. But it's just done some great breakout moves. Again, huge upgrade today. So for another gap and go, we did our newsletter this weekend on gap and goes, and today was, definitely fit one of the rules that we wrote about. So that was good on that. At this point, who knows? I mean, if they give another upgrade tomorrow, maybe we'll get another gap and go. Otherwise, we'll look for, what Roku does. Like it has these big moves, kind of consolidates a little bit, and then moves just like anything, right? So we have that. Let's take a look at Pins. Pinterest. So that was a big move right here. You can see why 35 was a key level, right? Because it was the high of the, it was 35.21 was kind of the key level. So anybody who had a stop market order here for an entry, right, got filled really, really quickly as it pushed to 36.21, and then probably people took profit and then just kind of came back down. So gave a little bit of a topping tail right there. You can see the real bodies are all mostly contained within this range. So we'll just continue to look for setups on this one to see if we can give it. But I mean, obviously it's holding up very nicely. So let's see how long it continues to hold those levels. Now AMD was another one that was interesting. I have a few subscribers that have messaged me. A few subscribers that messaged me, just kind of regarding the movements and stuff today, and very, very impressive down move, right? Had a huge gap up, and again, nice gap up high level right here, and got a nice thrust through there as it took out these levels, but it couldn't stay above it, right? So some relative weakness in the market, towards the end of the day on Friday, and then, kind of came back in. And then we had the move down today. So the move down today was actually pretty interesting, right? So we had a couple, signal bars this morning, right? We had a nice inside 15 right here, which ultimately kind of worked its way down, and then had that consolidation right there. So, some definite possibilities on AMD. So where does it go from here? It's pretty tough. It was a pretty big range today, right? So let's see. It's holding, like its this prior gap level right here. So just kind of see if it consolidates here a little bit and gives us some setups. We'll see if we can get some trend lines in there to see if we can get a breakout there later. So. Nudie Poo, what's happening? ACB and beyond. Let's take a look. ACB. Aurora Cannabis. Let's take a look. So this is, all right, so earnings have been like a while ago. Had that big gap up kind of recently here, but just kind of having trouble holding it. It keeps on testing, all these levels, so it hasn't quite filled the gap yet, but it did put it in a hammer, so, as it's in the gap. So just look and see if it can kind of hold these levels. If so, then, it may try to retest a couple of these prior pivot levels that we have kind of marked here. And then beyond, we just kind of took a look at that here at the daily price action, but let's see how at the intraday price action. But let's see how it looks here on the daily. Okay, so Beyond's actually looking pretty good, guys. I mean, so we had this recent low right here. Here's your minor pivot. Inside day, so this is kind of the key, right? So we had this inside day level right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this. I did a discussion on this earlier today. So this was the, why is it not working? Maybe it's just my mouse. Inside day high. Okay, or I'll just say inside day up. Right, so this is the level that we look for, right? Here. Let me zoom back in. Perfect breakout level, right? We have, oh my goodness. Sorry guys, I need to get a new mouse like tomorrow. Well, give 1 second. There. If I like press the corner of it, it seems to work. Okay, so here's the inside day. Right, so that is obviously a key level, right? Inside day up. So let's look at the price action and see what brought us there. And what was actually really cool about this is that it corresponded directly with the, oh boy, I've got a box I'm drawing right there, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so let me put this arrow up here. Okay, well, that's pretty good zoom. All right, so you can see right here, this is the first 15-minute bar of the day, right? So we talk a lot about 15 orbs. Not that this is necessarily a 15 orb stock, but you can still use those levels, as guides, right? You can use the 30 orb, whatever you want. In fact, the 30 orb is just as fine, right? So, drawing another box there again too. Don't want that. Okay, so but you can see here is the first 30-minute bar of the day. That defines the 30 orb. Look at that. It corresponded directly with the inside day high. So if we could get some sort of price action that pushes through there, right, then we can consider it a long, right? So if we didn't catch that inside 15 at the bottom of the day here, right here with that reversal bar, right? We have this bar right here, a nice green belt hold bar that pushed above and got over the inside day level. So we look to take an entry over here, right? So that kind of gets us 167 all the way up to 171. So that still makes a nice trade, right? And then then it drifts back down, right? So just kind of blah. But if we kind of look back and see these levels, there's there was stuff on the 3-minute chart, just all sorts of good stuff. So but basically this key level right here, I mean the inside day up level is good, but otherwise the high here 168.68. As long as it stays over that level, it could start to work its way back up, right? It's got some gaps to fill right here, which could be interesting. So that was the one of the key levels right here. So let's see what it does. So that's kind of a key trend line breakout, what it's working on right now. Paul, what's happening? Good stuff. SMDC4S, president accounted for. Nice. President and accounted for. Enjoy the apparel. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Call Saul, what's going on? Love the Stone Cold pick earlier. That was a good one. Sarah, good evening. BAC, let's take a look. Let's see how Bank of America is doing. Bank of America. Let's take a look. So here's what I could see. Where's that? I'm waiting for a trend line to pop up here. Yeah, okay, I can kind of see it right here. So this was the first minor pivot up, right? And then it kind of gave this minor pivot right here. So this is really kind of like the key level, right? So ultimately it's got to get above really, I guess here, this 28.52 to get some strength to the upside, right? So then, I mean, what we can do now is just kind of see what it's doing here, right? Because ultimately what it's done, shorter term, right, is it's put in a, kind of a relative high. Oh my goodness, sorry guys. Oh dear. Oh boy. There. Okay. So, kind of put in, some highs right here. So, we just have to look and see. It's kind of got a little breakdown right here to the downside. So it's got. Let's see if it can give us like another minor trend line that maybe we could work up later. But right now it's just kind of blah, right? It's got a nice little gap above though. So let's see if it can get some sort of push into that level. Wendy, good morning. Hope everything is wonderful over in Singapore. Juan, how's it going? Good to see you. Uber, yeah, let's take a look. Thanks for tuning in, Juan. Let's see. So Uber. Oof. Oofer, right? This thing has had some trouble recently, right? So it gapped down right after earnings, right? And tried to give like an epic reversal on Friday and couldn't do it, and then it just flushed down today, right? Here's that gap and go to the downside level, guys. So that was some support that really broke today. Let's take a look at that price action to see if we can see that here. So yeah, I mean, honestly, look at that. I mean, you just saw, oh, here's a blank screen. Let's kind of zoom in here. Look at that, 15 orb, just like, and then down. Here's your gap and go level, first target. Look at that, hit that on the second 15-minute bar, right? And didn't spend much time there until it did that. Like so, and then an inside-outside bar, and then down again. So pretty decent from today's 15 orb. Again, today would probably be day 2, right? Did I say 15? Where's 30? Oh, it's skipping over it. Gosh. So anyway, 30 orb day is usually day 2 after earnings or whatever the case is. So nice big 30 orb, and then there you go, down right after that. So it's a pretty big move. Oh man, imagine getting caught right there. Oh no, I'm marketed long and I'm stuck. Not fun. Been there. So I've been the guy at the top of a shooting star before, for sure. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what it's looking like. I mean, at this point, on the daily, we just have to see. So it is starting, obviously, a new trend down. So we just need to see from here. Here's your low. You're kind of a minor pivot-ish right here. I mean, it's got some work to do, right? I mean, you can kind of do that for now. Just see how it looks tomorrow. See if it gives a little consolidation, then it might start to work its way back up. Obviously, it's key to get back above 38, 32. So important stuff on that. TJF, what's happening? Netflix, Twilio, and Boeing? Yeah. Let's take a look. Netflix. So Netflix has been trying, guys. Wait till this trend line comes up here. Okay, so here's Netflix. It gave a minor pivot here on Thursday, right? And then it tried to get above it on Friday and failed. And then came back down and tested the, it's outside the downward trend line, right? And so it's still testing the trend line, right? But it has to continue to try, right? As long as it can get over today's highs and then get over Friday's highs, then it can start to work its way back up into the congestion zone. So, then we'll see if we can get up to like 330, maybe 333-ish, something like that. Twilio. I think we looked at this here. So you can see that trend line right there. We had a nice minor pivot break on Friday right at the pitchfork median line. And so today kind of hanging on a little bit, but needs to get over Friday's highs to get going. And then Boeing. We tried. We swung this in the private Twitter feed and made some money off of this, which was nice. Gave a real nice move on Friday. I'm glad we took profits on it because gap down, right? So here's your swing long level. Here's the that minor pivot, right? So this is where we went long, right, to kind of push into here, and then or somewhere in there. But the idea is, I think we caught it like right in there, but the idea is here spinning top right at that level. Okay, so this is kind of a major turning point for it, right? So it needs to push back over those levels to start getting strong again. Otherwise, it could come back down and just kind of test like that 330 level, 328, something like that. So that's a pitchfork base on that. So good stuff. Heather, good evening. Good to see you. Call Boeing, we just took a look at that, which is great. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, guys, earnings on Friday, right? So that's great. Always a fun one to finish the week with. I love trading NVIDIA. So once the premiums are back down, they're starting to get pretty expensive right now. So we've been stalking this one and tracking this one, right? So it's given a couple good moves. We've made some profit on it. It gapped down on Friday, which is a little bit frustrating, right? But you can see here's the swing long level off of this downward trend line right here. So it needs to get above that, right? Otherwise, guys, watch out if it gets down below, these levels here. This 149. Basically 149, 148.90. If it pushes through here, right, we can start seeing some gap fills and stuff like that. So I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they might push this thing down into earnings, and then it has good earnings, whatever the case is. I don't know. But that's kind of what we're looking at with NVIDIA. Disney, the Diz, was disappointing right on earnings, and because it came down, gave it like okay reversal, kind of this doji big shadow day, and then it gave it like this northern doji here the next day, and then it finally gave it like a downward trend line minor pivot, and it got nowhere close to it, so it's back below this downward trend line. So the trend is down right now on Disney until proven otherwise. And then Netflix we just took a look at, so good stuff. My pleasure, Call Saul, my pleasure. Robin, good evening. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ. It's like Marsha. QQQ, inside day down. Let's see if it was comparable to, not quite, not really the same as SPX, a little bit different. You can kind of see here on the 15-minute chart, right, big range bars like all through the open, right? Then it started to calm down just looking at the 15 bar, right? So outside bar here at the 15 warp high, right? Then kind of came down, and then it was at the 50% line, and then we had this, right, inside 15, and then it started to work its way down right here, right? So definitely interesting stuff. You can see how it just kind of finally tried to get above the VWAP. It held the VWAP and then just kind of broke down right here. That's on the 3-minute chart. 30-minute, tricky outside bar right here, but could have taken that down below the VWAP. And then let's take a look at the 60. Interesting price action. Just kind of tricky stuff. But yeah, for the most part, very, very similar to the SPX. Right now it's starting to work on, another kind of downward trend line right here, versus, a tight upward trend line. So basically we're just kind of trend is still kind of down, right, until proven otherwise. So these things need to start showing some power, right? And the only way it's going to do that, I don't know. Maybe they'll stop protesting in Hong Kong or something like that. So we'll see. Futures are a little bit green right now, but we'll see how that is coming into tomorrow. Maybe, guys. this is like, just so everybody knows, right? Like we're trading in like really amazing times, right? I hope everybody's just like at least can take a step back and kind of really appreciate what's happening, right? Like in the overall market, right? This is just kind of like one of those things that you look back and you're like, what? It's like trading through the .com boom, right? Or something like that. Like just amazing stuff, right? So if you just kind of go back, we'll take a look at Walmart here in a second. But this market, right, has been, you go back, if you were trading between 2015 and 2019, it's just like, okay, cool, yeah, just kind of, just buy the dip, right? Everything's great, and then, oh wow, it's really, oh man, this is great. We were kind of pushing up here. Oh man, this is awesome. And then we get to 2018, and then it was just like up and down, up and down. As if 2018, getting up here was, it's like, okay, this is kind of buyable, right? Buy the dip, everything's great. And then we had that huge flush right here. Just look at how crazy this is compared to that, right? So the last 2 years have been very, very interesting. We're seeing like range days right now, which are just incredible, right? And so it's funny, we get used to like these 30 range days, 50-point range days, and then eventually, it's going to give us like days, like we had, a couple months ago where we have like 5-point days, 8-point days, 10-point, not 5-point days, but you know what I mean, like 10-point days, regularly it's like, oh, what happened to all those big range days? I was just getting used to that. They were kind of fun. You can make tons of money with it, right? That type of thing. So, anyway, just so everybody can appreciate, the times that we're in right now, I think is good stuff. But let's take a look at Walmart. Walmart has earnings this week, which hopefully is fun. Now, I will say one thing about Walmart earnings is it is interesting and it can move quick. Walmart is particularly boring to trade on any other day, but earnings can actually be pretty interesting for Walmart. Like Disney, earnings was super boring, right? But Walmart has a tendency to fill gaps, like old gaps on earnings. And it can move really, really quickly, and it'll be like, what? Walmart's doing this, right? So that's one of the things. We got earnings coming up. What is it? Thursday, I think, the 15th before the open. So, just see if there's any open gaps, anywhere, and see where we gap to, and if there's an open gap near that, that could get filled pretty quickly. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. Maybe they have awesome earnings, and we can apply our gap and go techniques on that. So right now, obviously, it's trending down, right? So I had this old trend line right here. There's your low. Okay, so there we go. So we were just still trading down, right, until proven otherwise, right? So obviously earnings is going to prove one way or the other. That's the only thing that can prove otherwise at that point. So below the 50-day moving average, so maybe earnings will get us above that. If any of these pivots you can get above, we might see a little bit of a gap and go type action on it. So pretty good stuff. Bodapudi, how's it going? Amazon, let's take a look. Yeah, so Amazon down while Bezos is enjoying his couple $1 billion that he took out for his European trip. One second while it loads up here. Okay. So Amazon again, guys, it's holding its 200-day moving average, which is this kind of like red floating line right here for now. Okay. And very similar to a lot of the the NARF stocks. So what we're seeing here is that we have a minor pivot here. You can see I have an alert on it, for when it does get back up there. Once it does, once it gets and stays above this kind of minor pivot right here, we could see, a fresh push up for Amazon. But in the meantime, it's doing what all the other ones are doing, is kind of retesting this downward trend line, which is kind of boring. So, but it is what it is. So good stuff. B, how's it going? PayPal. Now there's one that I take my eyes off of all the time, but have been looking for a potential reversal on this one for a while. And like the rest of tech is doing the exact same thing. I mean, doesn't this look almost exactly like the Amazon chart? I mean, almost exactly like it. Minor pivot right here, retesting the downward trend line. So, at this point, again, we could look for setups, to the short side. I mean, but it is on the outside of the downward trend line, so it could look, could find. Wait, actually, I think this might get adjusted here because we do have a new low. 102.41. Oh, yeah, we did get a new. So this adjusts the trend line. So we have this, and now we move that there to this minor pivot. If it'll move forward right there. So now the trend is down until proven otherwise. So look to short snapbacks on this one, maybe until it gets to the 200-day moving average. So still pretty weak on that. And then Twitter. Oh, sorry, let's see the other ones. Lyft and Tesla and Twitter. Yeah, so Lyft. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, too, it is obviously trending downward, which kind of stinks because it did give a nice earnings, right? So anybody bought, it's like, oh, everything's great. Earnings are good, right? Okay, it's back down again. So it always has trouble staying above 60, so just kind of keep an eye on this downward trend line right here. Shorting snapbacks until proven otherwise seems to be, a possibility. And then Tesla. I kind of like what Tesla's doing right here with the 50-day moving average. Look how it's kind of curling back up right here. That's actually very, very interesting, and it's holding it pretty well. So, this is I think this is 15 orb. These two levels right here are 15 orb from earnings. Keep an eye on Tesla. That is actually a very intriguing moving average right there. I do like that curl over. And look at that. The bull power is actually went from negative to positive too, even though we're down a little bit. So that looks interesting. It's right at its 50-day moving average. See if it holds that. If not. obviously more downside is possible, but keep an eye on Tesla tomorrow. Might give a nice reversal. That'd be kind of interesting to see. So we'll see. See what the price action looks like tomorrow. And then Twitter. Do 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 do. Twitter is bullish. So here's your high. Let's see. Oh, come on. Activate. All right, here's your high. Oh, this mouse. Activate. Hold. Okay, there. It's kind of holding this little upward trend line right here. So just kind of see what it does, right? This is a little bit bullish. See if it tests maybe this 39.75 and then gives a little bit of a bounce off of that. That would be pretty interesting. Eric, how's it going? Good to see you, man. Expectation on Nvidia for earnings. Let's take a look and see. I mean, obviously, I don't trade into earnings, right? Unless I've got some freebie runners going into it, right? Because it's just gambling, right? So, I mean, and not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you could always do a lotto into it, but I would rather trade like a setup that is a little more reliable, right? That type of thing. So, but what we can see here is let's take a look. Let's take a look at our different charts here real quick. Just say. Into earnings, I like to do Elliott wave into earnings just to kind of see, what kind of the price action is. That's why, Roku, like my hypothesis was that it was going to gap up on earnings, right? It ended up doing it because it was, it fulfilled like an Elliott wave count, type thing. Of course, it could have gone either way. So Nvidia, has had a big move down from its all-time highs, right? It's been kind of, triangling in here on the monthly chart, right? So, I mean, we could look and see. I mean, if it kind of gaps down to this 135 level, it might find some support there. That's the 50-day moving average on the monthly. The overall cloud is pushing up for it. It's hard to say. I mean, it's missed on earnings a lot and then done recoveries. So that's one thing you might see. But one thing NVIDIA is notorious for on earnings, guys, is being flat into earnings. It used to be my favorite back in the day when I used to like play around with more exotic option strategies. I would do like iron condors on Nvidia and earnings, and like it would always work, right? Because the IV got so high, and then it really didn't move as it always stayed within the expected move, and so I see a lot of that too. So just be really really careful if you're trading Nvidia and earnings, because it does like to kind of chop around on that. Sometimes it does give a pretty major gap down, but it has so much room on it that it's tough to sometimes trade. So just be careful with that. But I mean, we take a look at it. I mean, the 50's kind of curling up a little bit. I mean, if it had a big gap up, that would be huge, especially if you could get over this 180 level, 185. It still has an open gap up here. This green line is an old open gap. So that would be really, really cool if it get close to filling out. I would love to see a huge gap up and then get a gap and go on NVIDIA, because NVIDIA can run. That would be fun. So anyway, we'll see you on that one. Albert, how's it going? Cat, Microsoft, Slob, and JP Morgan. Opinion for shorts. Let's take a look. So Cat. Yeah, good job on Cat. I mean, this is pretty impressive. I have a lot of old alerts on this. I don't even think I need any of these anymore, but pretty impressive stuff. I mean, we had it's put in a new low here, so we've got a new downward trend line. So I mean, yeah, ultimately on short, this thing is bearish until proven otherwise. And why won't that activate for me? Okay, there. Okay, so bearish until proven otherwise right here on the on the chart. So I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, see if it gives us any sort of breakout point. But I mean, look at that, like all this, everything's just kind of down on it. So yeah, so nice on Cat. Microsoft. So bearish till proven otherwise on Cat. Microsoft, if anything, is still kind of holding up a little bit. It did give a bit of a minor pivot here. So if it could get below today's lows, you can see it's kind of held some support levels here. We get below today's lows, we could see a test of maybe this kind of 131-ish type level. So something to keep an eye on there, and it does go ex-dividend kind of soon too. So that could be more catalyst to the downside. Slob. Schlumberger. Okay, Slob has been holding the fib fan line for a while. We kind of drew this back from its very very recent high to this last pivot low, and yeah, it's just kind of holding on to the fib fan line here. Just see if we can continue to hold that. Look for some price action. You can see there would be a downward trend line right here. That if we get over this minor pivot right here, would be 35.29. So if we get above that, you might get a little bit of a move up. Yeah, there's your low right there. So it's kind of a minor pivot right there. So just keep an eye on that. It could be interesting. And then JP Morgan. So yeah, so just be careful shorting Slob just because of its holding the fib fan line and it's got a minor pivot there. And then JP Morgan holding the 200-day moving average. That is something impressive for it. Let's see. I mean, kind of overall trend you could see. It is starting to break down a little bit. Did have a minor pivot here on this last breakdown. Hasn't quite put in a new low yet, and it's holding its 200 days. So just be careful with that. But yeah, Cat, Microsoft, that has some potential. Demesti, how's it going? Let's take a look. So just want to ask you for your watch list to the left, the 15 orb and 30 orb at TOS scan or watch list you made for yourself? Yeah, great question. Yeah, I made these for myself. So I tweet these out to subscribers every day. And I even, on the free game plan that I tweet out on the public Twitter, I put, these ideas out too. Sometimes there's new stuff in the morning that I just don't have time to post to the public Twitter. But yeah, so I make these up myself here. So, but again, the 15 orbs are I always watch SPX, just I like to keep that at the top. But these are all stocks that are typically gapping on news or earnings or something. Like Roku is definitely on the list because it was gapping up on an upgrade. Tesla was gapping down on like an electrical fire. Baba was just on there because it's gapping on I don't know, China going to war with Hong Kong, and or I guess since don't they consider, I don't know, anyway, but right, EOS was gapping and all that stuff, right? And then what happens is in the 30 orb list is they carry over, right, for like day 2, so you can get those like kind of 30 orb trades the next day, right? So I kind of keep those, the important ones, that they kind of carry over, right? And then a couple other ones we look at morning momentum, potential and all that stuff, and the NARF list is something that's always on there in internals. So yeah, so I made those there. So James, what's going on? Glad you made it, man. Thanks for showing up. Good stuff. Whoa. Just jumped around there a little bit. So seeing the same hitter on Chewy today. Let's hope. I know Buddy's hoping on that one, so let's take a look. So Chewy, he's loading up on positions in that one. He's digging up bones in the backyard for this one. So let's take a look on this. Let's see. Yeah, very nice, very nice. So it's still got the I believe this is the 15 orb from earnings. So we're still within that range, but I do like this hammer, right? And like kind of like what we saw last time, it just ultimately kind of needs to get out of this little box right here, right? So basically a push over there over 36 could get us going again on that. But yeah, I do like that hammer on Chewy. So good stuff on that. Let's hope. Exactly. Paul, ESF. Yeah, let's take a look. See. So this was a fun one, right? So the futures, right? We've already kind of looked through SPX, but let's just kind of take a look at the futures here. If we go to the 5-minute chart, let's see what it's doing right here. Right, so it's still kind of holding the cloud a little bit. Let's even get above it. I mean, it's green, right? It's kind of worked its way up, right? So just kind of see. Couple levels here. Maybe 28.95 would be a nice target at some point here if we could get some strength. So yeah, so we'll see how this goes. Let's see if it stays green for us, kind of going into tomorrow. So Robin, my pleasure. Pudi. Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Eric, my pleasure. Oh, Shirley, how's it going? Let's take a look. So you got AEP. Let's go back to our daily here. AEP. And I'm gonna have to dig around for an old mouse later just to see. But I had my son gave me this really cool gaming one, but I guess I'm just so much at clicking. I do more clicking on charts than most teenagers do use on games, I guess, whatever the case is there. Because I'm doing it all day, right? So anyway, so here's AEP, right? It's been holding this channel. Again, yeah, nice kind of bullish move right here that it's had. So just kind of keep an eye on this here. Pretty bullish until proven otherwise. It's over its 50-day moving average. AFIN. It's over $10, so that's a good thing, right? Remember? So it's holding a couple of these levels, it's holding its volumetric levels, and it is holding up kind of this bit of this upward trend line right here. So just see if it can hold that. But if the 50-day can cross over, gold cross over the 200-day, that could be really good for it. AIV. Apartment Investment Management. So basically, it broke down below the pitchfork right here, gave a minor pivot, but held its 200-day moving average. Just be careful; it's going ex-dividend here. Surely, it's had a nice move so far, but just watch maybe a potential drop there, and then possible buy the dip on that. IAU. Wow, super bullish. Great job if you were holding on to that. So it was looking at like a bump and run a little bit ago. So I mean, it still is, but it had a nice gap up and has some continuation on it. So that's some great stuff on that. GLD. Yeah, I mean no issues holding gold these days, right? Wow, same thing. Upper, oh look at that. It's over the top of the pitchfork too, Shirley, which is great. There's incredible stuff on gold. I guess it's just kind of just detecting all the volatility, and that volatility is high. It's like, gold safe, good to go. Speaking of go to go. Big bullish move right here. Again, it's over the volumetric level right here. So just kind of pretty bullish there until proven otherwise. So just see if that holds there. I like the let's see if that 50 can go back over the 200 moving average, and then maybe start to work its way, try to get over $10 for you. And then CN. Ciantra. Also good. Also over these levels, lots of nice volume here, kind of coming into it. So, bullish there until proven otherwise too. So, good stuff, Shirley. James, my pleasure. My friends, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Nice discussion tonight. Great chart requests. Looking forward to tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some more earnings kind of coming out. I think JD's on the docket and some other ones. AAP Advanced Auto Parts usually makes for an interesting one. Is to kind of keep an eye on those. Oh, hey, MST, let's see. So, favor, if you could do Square, bounced off previous 60 level. Just wish it bounced more with volume today. Yeah, let's take a look at Square. Square, I know, and I understand that. So just be careful here on the daily. Like see this pivot right here. It's kind of holding the support. This 60 level is very, very important, right? This is an older, kind of congestion zone for it, right? So just kind of keep an eye on that. But this recent gap down has been really, really ugly for Square, right? So it's this last gap down right here, you can see here. Let's see if I can get a little something there, right? So just be really, really careful with this, right? So it's downtrending pretty steeply right now. So watch this downward trend line. If it can get up over it, maybe has a chance of getting back up and starting to work its way up the gap. But right now it's looking really, really weak right here. So, and it's right at this key level too. If I kind of expand this forward, right, it's back in that key zone. So if it can't hold this level right here, we could see some lower values for sure. So just be careful with that. So yeah, good stuff. Heather, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new here, definitely subscribe. We do this every market night. Check out all the links in the description. Right, if you don't follow us on Twitter, check us out on Twitter. We always post charts and some cool ideas. And then positive-trends.com, lots of cool stuff on there too. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a great rest of your evening. Hopefully, have another awesome trading day tomorrow. And then have a great evening. Remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.